The Story of a Dike Against the Waves, the Mangrove River by Marguerite Duras. For many, the idea of reading might feel intimidating or even boring. They might recall the thick books they were forced to read in school, shaking their heads at the thought, or assume that engaging with literature requires extraordinary knowledge or refinement. In truth, reading doesn't demand special talents or background knowledge. Rather, it offers the chance to view the world more deeply through the stories of people who live lives that are no different from our own, perhaps even harsher, and to reflect on our own lives. The book I want to introduce today is The Mangrove River by French author Marguerite Duras. Hearing the title might evoke thoughts of an expansive natural documentary or an abstruse philosophical work, potentially making it seem burdensome. But in reality, it is a profoundly raw and vivid tale of a family. The story centers on a family in colonial Vietnam, struggling to survive against the relentless tide in a barren land. Their journey, transcending time and space, invites us to reflect deeply and feel a profound connection to their experiences. Through this essay, we will explore the contents of this book, its insights, and how they resonate with our lives today. You don't need special knowledge or cultural background. If you simply have an openness to the stories of people, the Mangrove River will offer you an unforgettable experience. 1. A barren land, a collapsing dike, the struggle for life amid despair. The Mangrove River is set in a remote village in Indochina during the 1920s French colonial period. The main characters are Suzanne, who mirrors Duras's own childhood, her brother Joseph, and their mother, who raises them alone. The family lives in a wasteland granted to them by the colonial government, a land connected directly to the sea, where seawater floods in during high tides, making it brackish and unfarmable. The mother tirelessly endeavors to transform this desolate land into a cultivable one. She dedicates all her resources, even her children's futures, to building a dike to hold back the violent Pacific waves. However, this dike was doomed from the beginning. Corrupt colonial officials embezzled funds meant for its construction, and without proper technology, the structure fell apart under the force of the waves. Each year, the family built the dike, only to watch it collapse in the ocean's relentless advance. The mother's efforts became an endless cycle of Sisyphus, and the family sank deeper into poverty and despair. This setting provides the first strong insight: the human struggle in the face of despair. The dike is not merely a wall of dirt and stone, it symbolizes the mother's last hope, her love for her children, and her desperate resistance against fate. In our lives, we too build our dikes. The hard work we do to earn money, the sacrifices we make for our families, and the dreams we hold for a better future, all are our personal dikes. Sometimes, these dikes crumble under pressure, when our efforts bear no fruit, when we are betrayed by those we trust, or when unexpected misfortunes strike. We feel despair, but like the mother in the story, we must find the strength to rise again. Her resilience reminds us of the inherent strength of humanity to persevere in the face of failure and despair. Moreover, the story of the dike carries a powerful message about systemic injustice and the helplessness of individuals. The mother's misfortune is not solely due to natural disasters. The corruption of colonial officials, the unfair land distribution, and the harsh reality of a system that denies even a single opportunity to the poor pushed her to the edge. It shows how, despite one's efforts, the contradictions within a societal system can render individuals powerless. Even today, we witness similar injustices, unfair competition, unequal opportunities, and invisible barriers that no amount of effort can overcome. The Mangrove River exposes these realities, vividly portraying the frustration and anger that arise when individuals become victims of the system. 2. Choices for survival: money, love, and dignity. The family's life becomes increasingly desperate. To survive and raise money to rebuild the dike, the mother and children are forced to make painful decisions. Particularly, Suzanne and Joseph must sacrifice love and dignity for money. The mother arranges for Suzanne to meet the wealthy Chinese man, Mr. Zhao, leveraging her daughter's beauty. Mr. Zhao may be unattractive and awkward, but he possesses great wealth. The mother hopes that through Suzanne's relationship with him, the family can pay off its debts and start anew. Although heartbroken, Suzanne accepts this relationship as a desperate means to escape their hopeless situation. Joseph, too, wrestles with the sacrifice of his sister but ultimately accepts this grim reality for the sake of the family's survival. This situation offers a second profound insight: the painful choices people make for survival. How far can extreme poverty and despair push a person? How easily can values like love, dignity, and self-respect crumble in the face of hunger and the need to survive? The book unflinchingly reveals this truth. Suzanne's decision must not have been easy. Enduring a loveless relationship at a young age is a torment words alone cannot convey. Yet she makes this choice in the faint hope of freeing herself and her family from this hellish existence. This theme resonates in our lives today. We often force ourselves to endure jobs we dislike for financial reasons, compromise our values for survival, or give up our dreams to adapt to reality. Sometimes we tolerate injustices in personal relationships. The Mangrove River reminds us that these choices are not signs of weakness or defeat but rather acts of profound courage to survive. It urges us to understand the desperation and stories behind others' painful decisions rather than judge them. Simultaneously, the book addresses the power of money and its corrupting influence on human relationships. Mr. Zhao attempts to win Suzanne's heart through wealth, but he cannot offer love. Material abundance tempts the once marginalized family to shift loyalties and tolerate exploitation. This sharp critique highlights how in a money-driven society, human values can be distorted. Does money truly solve all problems? Can it bring genuine happiness and dignity? Rather than offering answers, the book keeps posing these questions, challenging us to reflect. 3. The Era of Loss, Comfort in Memory. Duras's personal experience and literature. Duras wrote this novel based on her own childhood experiences in colonial Indochina, where she and her mother endured poverty and hardship after failing to build a dike. Her personal history infuses the novel with vivid realism and emotional depth. Duras transforms her painful memories into literature, drawing from the past to create meaning and perhaps find peace. At this point, we reach a third insight: the healing power of literature in confronting painful memories. For Duras, writing The Mangrove River went beyond storytelling. It was an act of confronting her wounded past, searching for meaning, and perhaps finding freedom from the memories that haunted her. We, too, carry wounds and painful memories in our lives. We might wish to forget certain moments or never revisit them. Yet Duras's novel teaches us that only by honestly facing these memories can we find true comfort and growth. The suffering and despair of the characters are Duras's own, but by expressing them through writing, she healed her past while offering readers profound empathy and solace. One reason we read literature is precisely for this: to understand our lives through others' stories, to reconnect with buried emotions, and to discover hope amid hardship. Duras, without romanticizing tragedy, portrays it with dry, unemotional prose that reveals the enduring beauty of life alongside its harshness. Though her style may sometimes feel harsh or cold, the human anguish and love she conveys deeply move her readers. Additionally, the book shows how personal experiences can evolve into universal narratives. Duras's individual suffering connects with the pain of colonialism, the chains of poverty, and the fundamental solitude of human existence. Her story transcends time and place, resonating with people across generations in their shared struggles of despair, love, hope, and the will to survive. Through this family story, we glimpse our own families, our neighbors, and the universal human experience. For life beyond the dike. Nonetheless, we move forward. The novel's ending is not entirely hopeful. The mother eventually dies from illness, while Suzanne and Joseph leave to seek their own futures, abandoning the barren land and failed dike of their past. It is not a perfect happy ending, but they are taking steps toward new lives, leaving behind their painful history to dream of a better future. This leads to the final and most vital insight: life continues, even in despair. Though the dike crumbled, the mother died, and pain remained, Suzanne and Joseph survived. Through their suffering, they grew, and now they possess the will to forge new paths. While not all problems are resolved, they move forward toward a life of possibilities. Our lives follow a similar pattern. We face countless failures and disappointments. Some dikes we build collapse no matter how hard we try, and some relationships end in irrevocable loss. Yet we must continue living, rising from our losses, and seeking new paths after setbacks. The Mangrove River reminds us that, though life can be cruel and unjust, humans persistently seek hope, create meaning, and ultimately move forward. After reading this book, we might find ourselves asking, what are the dikes in my life that have crumbled? What dikes am I currently building? What painful choices have I made? And most importantly, how will I continue my life despite suffering and failures? Closing thoughts. What story does your dike tell? The Mangrove River by Marguerite Duras is a universal story of human life, accessible to any reader who is human. It encapsulates poverty, suffering, injustice, love, sacrifice, and the unyielding will to live despite all this. These themes are condensed into the tragic narrative of a single family. This book encourages us to confront the difficulties we face rather than avoid them, offering the courage to understand their essence. It also reminds us to deeply empathize with those around us who are marginalized or victimized by the system and to consider the importance of small, meaningful actions for creating a better society. Reading goes beyond accumulating knowledge. It is a mirror reflecting our lives through others' experiences and a window to understanding the world we live in. The Mangrove River reminds us once again of the fundamental value of reading. Do not think it will be difficult. Why not pause for a moment and listen to the story of this family? In their struggles and pain, you might discover the meaning of your own dikes and find new waves of hope beyond the broken ones. This book will surely leave a deep impression in your heart for a long time to come.